Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new episode of the Square Circle Podcast right here on twitch.tv/Marie_shadows. And if you are watching this VOD, video on demand, make sure to tell a friend so that way next time when I go live, they're here. They can hear my thoughts about AEW drama, New Japan news, watch some wrestling with us, have a good time here at twitch.tv/Marie_shadows. So today we have a lot to go over, and I have a lot of opinions. So buckle in, make sure to get snacks, make sure to be hydrated, and we're just going to go over what you see on the screen, which is the topics I'm going to be talking about. I wanted to start off with Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. They had this promo battle, and I just did not like it at all. But I'll get into that a little bit because I want to watch some Ospreay matches towards the end of this. But we could get into the small little things like Eddie and Sammy, contract tampering, interim, everything. Everything is about like interim this, interim that. Like AEW needs to stop doing that. And then I figured out the secret success that keeps AEW going, and it's not money. It's not money. CM Punk versus Moxley, and then that Moxley should watch some WWE programming. It is actually quite good. So let's just jump into the first one where it's Eddie and Sammy Guevara. You know, I don't like talking about rumors and news and stuff like that, but because the internet was poking around and Eddie Kingston did say that he was suspended from AEW for what he did to Sammy and the altercation that went down, we're going to talk about it for a little bit because both sides are wrong. There is no right in this situation. Both sides are wrong either way, but luckily it got resolved to where Eddie was the adult and apologized either way, because he knew that he was in the wrong. And that's what New Yorkers do. New Yorkers, as much as we are stubborn and, you know, we have like our shields up, our guards up, the one thing you could count on is that when you bring something to a New Yorker's attention and explain it to them in a way where it's like, you know, they may understand why what they did is wrong, they will apologize. We will apologize. So Eddie Kingston did the right thing to apologize and was the bigger man about it. But then again, the way that Sammy wrote his letter, his statement for his side, just sounded so childish, where it's like, oh, you know, not everything is, you know, my fault. Like barely anything is my fault. I'm going to go with, I was gonna, you know, Sammy was gonna go with the whole, like, this is how professional I am, and this is not how professional Eddie is, and Eddie has anger management issues, and, like, all this kind of stuff, and, like, dude, just be like, I said things that I should have never said. It was, you know, misunderstanding, it was a mistake, and, you know, let's move on. I'm sorry, Eddie, and that's it. And yeah, he was fat shamed, but you know what? We should definitely talk about body shaming for a bit, because everyone just has this sensitivity towards like body shame where there's a difference. I heard the clip of, you know, Sammy delivering the line, and then we saw the video of, you know, Eddie's promo back. So what I don't like is that, how can I say this about fat shaming? So there's a difference between fat shaming that you're just like, oh, you're fat, and always constantly reminding the person that they're fat and that whatever they eat, whatever they drink, it doesn't matter. They're fat. Nothing's really going to happen. Or if you see them constantly like lounging around and you go up to them and continue to call them fat without like trying to encourage them or whatever, you know, that right there is fat shaming. But if you want somebody to be the best healthiest version of themselves. It's obviously going to take some time. It's going to take some patience. It's going to take some dedication. It's going to take some encouragement, because it doesn't happen overnight when people lose weight or anything like that. But the other side to it is, if you're like, hey, I'm concerned about you, I wish that you can, start walking more, exercising more. You have gained a little bit more of a weight. That's totally different. I don't consider doing that sort of being like a body shame or a fat shame. In Sammy Guevara's case, he really did say in his promo that, oh, Eddie Kingston is a fat piece of shit, just like everyone here. And he delivered it as a heel, but it just came off so forced that it's like, man, you backed yourself into a corner. The fans also backed you into a corner, because you can hear in the video of the fan recording that everyone is telling Sammy to like shut the fuck up. So everyone is backed into a corner. You can tell Sammy is not really good at improv, and just went with, the fat shaming to sort of throw it back on the fans. So, there's a difference between fat shaming and fat shaming the way that, how can I say it? Because I can't say the way that Sammy did it, because Sammy just did it like an idiot in a way. But there's a difference between fat shaming maliciously versus trying to motivate somebody to lose some weight because there could be complications and stuff like that. That's why this is a tricky situation to like really talk about, because I know people get really sensitive, and my one biggest angry fan will probably tell me something about fat shaming, because the last time I talked about fat shaming was when I was talking about Adam Cole, because, well, not really fat shaming, just body shaming in general. The last time it was when I was talking about Adam Cole, and I know how people are sensitive about that. But there's a difference between the body type that Adam Cole had in NXT versus what he has now. And it's just like, it's a little jarring and concerning, because, as an athlete, you should at least keep up with the minimum of having cardio, of, looking the part, or, just being fit. You don't have to be like muscular. You don't have to be, cut up like you're going to go to a bodybuilding tournament, but at least make sure that you are healthy enough, strong enough in order to do what you got to do in the ring, because wrestling is not like any other sport. Wrestling is not like basketball, where like, yeah, you probably do have to focus on like weight training, but basketball is mainly like cardio. Or if you're doing like hockey, there's different steps to different sports, and wrestling is the most unique one, because you really do have to make sure that you're strong enough to lift these guys. You're agile enough to make sure that if you want to do flips, that you're able to do flips and not hurt yourself. So, again, talking about, fat shaming, body shaming, it is a bit of a sensitive topic, but you can't seem to get a word in on how to like really talk about it without people getting like super, super, super sensitive and being like, oh, leave that person alone, when you're trying to be like, hey, I'm concerned. Maybe you should start, taking small steps of doing cardio, walking, just basic stuff. Like, we always have these like fitness gurus that are like, oh, make sure that you're exercising and walking, and, doing something is better than doing nothing. So, we have that. We listen to fitness gurus, but the moment somebody is like, oh, it seems like you put on some weight, oh my God, you're fat shaming them, you're body shaming them, hear them out first. Don't just like cut them off and just label them as whatever you want to label them for, like, your narrative. Everybody has an opinion. I get that. But then again, to say that Eddie is fat, he's just big bone, even though, you know, that's probably not the thing. But we have seen that he's put in the effort to, you know, lose some weight. He's not overweight. He's just not the typical wrestler or the typical man that, like, people are so trained to see on their TV. He's totally 100% real. He's authentic and he does what he wants. But you cannot take away the fact that he has improved his body image, that he has really improved taking the steps to look a little bit better, but he's very comfortable looking the way that he is and stuff. The only reason why it's getting picked up as much as it is because Sammy has that go home heat. And Sammy and Tay does not understand, you know, what this go home heat actually means. You know, yeah, he's definitely improved his power. Like, Eddie Kingston has improved tremendously since we first saw him when he came to AEW. Now he's taking more conscious strides to, like, you know, lose weight if he, like, needs to or wants to his own way. He's doing it on his own time. Sammy interjecting that line of him being a fat piece of shit again was to put it back on the fans because he could hear the fans telling him to shut the fuck up. So Sammy still needs to learn how to be a heel. I thought he could be a heel, but he still needs to learn how to be a heel. And yeah, so, like, I just think that if we're gonna be talking about the differences of fat shaming, body shaming, or whatever shaming, that, like, it should definitely be, you should definitely have an open mind and not just completely shut someone down if it becomes too sensitive for you. Because I could definitely say that I need to lose weight. I know I definitely do. And if people watch this on the replay or when they watch this on marieshadows.substack.com and they see me up in that corner and, you know, I got a rounder face, I got, like, extra, you know, flab and stuff. Like, I'm not your skinny typical girl on here on Twitch. I'm a normal girl that, like, you know, has fat here and there, that's, like, chubby and whatnot. So if somebody ever came to me and be like, I'm fat, I would be like, I know I am. I know. You telling me that I'm fat is not really gonna hurt my feelings because I know that I am. I have to lose weight. It's a slow process. It's a journey. It's not something that happens overnight. It's something that gradually happens with consistency. And sometimes we're not consistent because of everything that we think of inside of our heads does not really allow us to really go at it to be as muscle or as lean as, like, everybody else that you see on TV in the magazines and all the Photoshop pictures. So, you know, instead of getting super angry at Sammy, which I could understand why, and I'm not defending him because I think that him and Tay need to go home for a bit, but I just think that no one should really go as hard because you're not the one affected. The one that's affected is Eddie Kingston because it was said to him. Don't do the whole thing of, like, I'm going to be Eddie Kingston's white knight because that offended you. Don't do that. Like, Eddie Kingston, you saw this morning on Twitter that he was more than capable of just shutting down people and, like, talking his shit, and already apologized to Sammy and to the situation, saying that he was in the wrong because he should have never did that. And I think there was probably, like, more stuff. And we're going to get into Sammy's letter because there is something missing. And I need all the AEW fans to listen up and actually, you know, read with me and understand what is missing. Okay, so Ronan here says, and you see, that's interesting. Okay, sorry. And you see, Sammy and Tay need to study footage from Edge and Lita and realize how masterful Edge's villainous role was, and Lita's for the matter. So with that, right, I'm just gonna explain this here. Edge and Lita wasn't 99, probably 100% doing a vlog about their personal life. We weren't with Edge and Lita 100% of the time, knowing like their vacation spots, knowing that they went to Paris, knowing that, you know, they went to Brazil, knowing that they got married, and that, like, you know, Tony Khan was there, like all the stuff that you see Sammy and Tay put up on the vlog and stuff. We never saw that with Edge and Lita, so that's why Edge and Lita was a lot more masterful and tasteful. And you wanted to like hate Edge. Edge had Lita. Lita's, it was, you know, was and still is beautiful. But again, it's the fact of that Sammy and Tay have really allowed fans so much into their lives that if they decided to turn it off, it's not going to work. It really is not going to work at all. Let me switch over these pictures so that way we can read this. Let me. Oops, excuse me. Okay. But I do know that someone might end up commenting on the way I think about what fat shaming is and what it means, and not to be like super sensitive about it. Okay, so this is Sammy's letter, his statement. I guess they can, Ronan. I guess they can. All right, so this is as it goes. This is all in Sammy's words and stuff like that. So Sammy says, as a professional, you communicate things that you don't want to be said, like other people I've been in programs with and have worked with Matt Hardy, Jericho, and others. And I did communicate of what I didn't want to be said in this angle, and Eddie didn't. But Eddie did not do the same, and Eddie did not mention to me or the coaches or TK or anyone in AEW what he didn't want said. So after Taze and my match with Sky Blue and Dante, I cut a promo on Eddie insulting Eddie and the fans as a heel, which I know the thing everyone loves to do is hate me and Tay, so I'm the perfect person to play this asshole character for Eddie to ultimately beat at All Out. I see what people say online about Eddie and his appearance, which anyone who legitimately shames Eddie for how he looks can go to hell. It's the same people who shame me for being too small. So, Sammy Guevara, the character, I could be the physical person playing that person that Eddie can shut up at All Out. But Eddie did not do the professional thing and communicate to me, which if he did, I never would have said it, because the last thing I want to do is hurt someone for real. So after the promo, I get to the back and Eddie is flipping out, yelling, "You can't call me fat." Hold on. We good? Okay, we good. Sorry. Over and over as I try to walk down the stairs in Gorilla, making a big scene. People get in between us. Eddie tries to pie face me, and he more life touches my face, it was weird. And everyone backs up. It was uncomfortable because this promo was on a tape show and easily could have been edited, which they ended up doing anyways. I know this isn't Eddie's first time being aggressive and getting out of control backstage. I know he had to do some kind of anger management after this whole thing. This whole thing was very unnecessary, but it is what it is. Live and learn, I guess. On to the next we go. Man. All right, let's break this down, because even when I was reading it, I was like, I want to make comments as I go. But first of all, by the way, Dex, thank you for stopping by the stream. Thank you for stopping in chat. Yeah, AEW has been wild. So let's talk about this for a second, right? There is one missing important detail in this. One missing important detail in this, right? So Sammy goes and says that he always talks with everyone that he's ever been in an angle with or a story with. He always goes up to them and be like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Are you okay with this? No. Okay, so let's think about something else. He never once said, I decided to ask Eddie Kingston, is it okay for me to cut a promo at the end of his match? At the end of Sammy's match. Did Sammy go up to Eddie Kingston and say, hey, I know we haven't talked in a while about this angle that we're doing for All Out, so at the end of my match, I'm going to cut a promo. It does not say that here in this letter, and that's the most important detail that's missing, because if you're having this miscommunication, then maybe it is your fault as well. And you should also apologize and be like, hey, next time I'll let you know everything. That's what you're supposed to do. If you're going to be in this business and the other wrestler has to worry about your life the same way that you have to worry about their life, it's just a common courtesy to be like, you know, asking him or telling him like, hey, I'm going to cut a promo after my match. If he did not know that, you know, this promo was going to happen, then you know, maybe that's why Eddie got upset. Yeah, Ronan has it right here. He said he should have asked him before if he was comfortable doing the promo. Yeah, the other thing too about this letter is that Sammy just straight out, like, I really don't want to use the word snitches, but he just straight out, like, just says like certain things that you're not really supposed to say. Like, you know, for him to say, I see what people say online about Eddie and his appearance. And the other stuff next to it, which anyone who legitimately shames Eddie for how he looks can go to hell, is the same people who shame me for being small. Sir, if you know that you don't like to be shamed for being a small wrestler, what makes you think it was okay to just say Eddie's a fat piece of shit? Was it because you know that people talk about Eddie's appearance and you just wanted to play on it? Or is it because the fans backed you into a corner because they don't want to hear you and Tay at all on the mic? Like, which is it, dude? Like, this is bothering me, because if you see something, why would you just say it on the mic to try to get that stupid ass heat? It makes no sense to me at all, man. Like, if you know that you don't like something, what makes you think the other person is gonna like it? That should be rule number one. I think, let me see if I could try to equate this to something else. Like, 9 times out of 10, people have been bullied, right? So, you know, if I don't like bullying, most likely the other person doesn't like it. So I know that I shouldn't go into that territory. If I'm in a story or an angle with somebody, like, I shouldn't go into that territory, But then again, you should be talking about this stuff with Eddie. And by the way, sure, Eddie has some anger issues. Who doesn't have anger issues, especially when you're from New York? And that's not an excuse, but when you grow up in New York and you grow up in a broken family, you have like trauma, anger issues. Like we all have it here, okay? Remember, I'm from New York City. I even have some trauma issues and anger issues sometimes. But you know, the point is that Eddie probably does. He probably does. But for you to throw him under the bus so casually of like, oh, this isn't the first time he's been aggressive and that he had to take anger management after this whole incident. First of all, can you tell the difference between anger and frustration and a little bit of, how can I put it? Aggressiveness, even though that may not be the word I'm looking for. It's only because sometimes for me, I've been told in the past that my tone, the way that I speak and, you know, the way that I just walk, my whole like swagger and shit, can come off a little bit aggressive, can come off a little bit like pushing, and stuff like that. And, you know, people may not understand that it's not coming from a bad place. It's not coming from like anger all the time. Like I bet you Eddie Kingston is not angry 100% of the time, the same way that I'm not angry 100% of the time, you know? So like, do you know the difference? Can you spot the difference? Because if you're not used to being around someone like Eddie, who's very high temper, who has a lot of energy, who is a loudmouth, like I understand the kind of person that Eddie is, because I, you know, New Yorkers, like I totally get it. You know, if you just hang around the dude, ask him questions, talk to him, he's probably like the best dude you can ever ask for, the best friend you can ever ask for, really, because he's very truthful, he's very honest, and he probably will have your back. But given the fact that when he was doing, I guess, like a high spots, like signing, he basically said he doesn't like Sammy, and I don't put it past him because Sammy Guevara has not grown up. Sammy Guevara is still a child. And I say that because there's nothing mature in this letter that tells me that, well, first of all, in this letter, he does acknowledge that as a professional, he does talk to other people about like his stories and angles and stuff like that. But then, you know, heading down, telling the story, he just throws Eddie under the bus as if like he is not responsible for most of it or even some of it. Like, I think this situation is equally wrong on both sides. Ronan is giving me all good words here for me, like callous and frustration and anger. Like, I'll tell you one thing, like Eddie is not, like I said, Eddie is not angry 100%. It's just that when certain people come from a different environment and a different state or whatever it is, or like an upbringing, they don't understand New Yorkers. Dex says, how many times are we going to hear Sammy's name in these kind of stories? I don't know, until he grows up. Until he grows up. Oh yeah, that's also another thing too, that the rumor going around is that Warner Brothers Discovery told him to turn it down with the language, which I agree with, because you don't have to say the word bitch or shit or whatever else they say to get your point across in a promo. You really don't have to. You know, you could always go back and study the greats in promo class, such as Jake the Snake Roberts, you know, really, really great, and stuff like that. But yeah, like I don't think we need like bitch and shit to get promos over and stuff. But what else? What else can I say about this letter that I haven't already said? You know, blaming Eddie is not a very good thing. You know, it's one thing to blame somebody when you know you're definitely, like, you know, in the right. But like I said, this is like a 50-50 split of like both of them being wrong. Yeah, I know, Ronan. Um, giving me all good words. Because I'm here trying to like choose my words carefully to where it makes sense, and stuff like that. And then, you know, I actually do believe that Eddie Kingston was flipping out and he really did yell at him, "You can't call me fat." Like, I could see Eddie Kingston doing that shit. But other than that, it's like, you know, again, you should have went up to Eddie and be like, "Hey, after my match, I'm going to cut this promo." In this letter, we don't know if that was the case, and that's the most biggest important missing detail in this statement. I This is why sometimes AEW needs to have like promo classes and sit down with people and be like, this is what you can say, this is what you can't say. AEW needs to start bringing in the reins, no pun intended, about like, you know, what to say, what to do, you know, make sure that you guys are talking to everybody, making sure that, like, you know, there's a line of communication with all of this. But this made both guys look bad. The journalists jumping on it definitely made it look bad. Eddie Kingston putting everybody, you know, to quiet down, you know, being the bigger person, being the adult. And that's what like Sammy should realize, that that's how you become an adult. That's how you mature. It's what, you know, Eddie was doing like all morning, even though he was like, you know, trying to divert the attention away and be like, hey, AEW got that 1 million views, right? So let's, you know, thank Pac and Phoenix and Penta, because Penta's his best friend. But the reason why AEW got those 1 million views was thanks to Will Ospreay and Aussie Open. If Will Ospreay and Aussie Open did not go to AEW Dynamite on Wednesday, AEW Dynamite would have still gotten 900,000 plus views, but it would not have cracked 1 million. You cannot tell me different. Because even with the announcement and well, not really the announcement, but the buzz on Twitter when everybody was saying that, oh, Kenny's coming back. What happened? Kenny came back. Didn't even break 1 million. You see, like, I don't think Kenny has the drawing power anymore. And people might come after me for that because I love Kenny Omega. But now I just feel like he's going to be in that category of he's just there right now. Like, there is no love, hate. It's just very neutral because I've seen everything. I'm not sure if Kenny Omega could wow me still, unlike Will Ospreay, Aussie Open, United Empire, stuff that Jay White is doing, stuff that Tom is doing, stuff that, you know, ELP is doing with Shingo and stuff like that. Like, those are the guys that are really impressing me. And Ospreay, like, you guys have to put respect on Ospreay's name. Put respect on Ospreay's name, please. Ospreay has huge drawing power in America at the moment. Yes, he really does. And he has really good drawing power on Reddit. We'll get to that in a moment. By the way, for all the lurkers out there on twitch.tv/Marie_shadows, if you are enjoying this podcast episode of me talking about all the AEW drama and stuff like that, make sure to hit that follow button, that heart. Let me know that, you know, you're interested in this conversation. Jump in the chat. Let me know your thoughts. So that way we could just have a conversation about it and talk about it. And if you do not want your experience to be interrupted by ads, by all means, send me over that Twitch Prime and or gift the community some subs. But I think I'm going to leave it there for the situation between Sammy and Eddie. I already said my piece on it. We can move on to the next thing to talk about, which will be like just ordinary contract tampering, interim everything, and then I'll pull up some more stuff. But no more Eddie Kingston and Sammy Guevara.